Well, after 7 seasons here at Lewis FC, finally we have plans for a new stadium. Admittedly, there is absolutely no details, and it's probably not even 100% confirmed, but we are very likely leaving the dripping pan rather soon. Our current stadium holds 5,000 fans. That is somewhat long overdue, isn't it? Today, by the way, is episode number 43. It is officially the start of season number 8. Kind of. We finished up our first season in the Championship last time out. A bitterly disappointing end to things, but I'm really looking forward to this summer. I do feel like after the past couple of seasons of getting promoted and immediately having to think about how we're going to improve the team, it's kind of refreshing to not be moving up a division and to actually have a little bit of confidence in the squad that we already have. Now, admittedly, right now, it's only the 3rd of May. I came back for the stadium news. I'm going to play forward a little bit more, probably get nearer the start of June. There is lots of wheeling and dealing to do. There's lots of transfer budget and wage budget to potentially do it with too. Well, one concern dealt with very early on this window. Jesus Maria Garcia and Emerson Cardozo both signing new contracts and both being granted work permits for all these new deals. I think the Cardozo one is without a doubt the biggest. This guy had a load of interest in him from various teams. He was actually our most expensive signing this year at £450,000. I think based on what we've seen early doors for him playing for us, it's going to be money well spent. And for him to commit his long-term future to the club is massive. It's a 4-year contract with an optional 3-year extension. £6,000 a week makes him one of the highest earners. He is absolutely worth that. And Garcia has also committed his long-term future to the club. The 19-year-old, one of the standout young players this year. I feel like he could be a lock-in at right-back for many, many years to come. There wasn't so much interest in him, but always good to get a deal like this negotiated nice and early. Similar type of deal, 4-year deal, optional 3-year extension. If we do get promoted to the Premier League, he will get a 50% wage rise, which obviously in some circumstances would be mental. When he's only being paid £3,500, that 50% as a Premier League team is absolutely nothing. In some other news, our youth facilities, which were planning to be worked on, have had their work completed, so that is really good news there. We've just been given a solidarity payment of £4.82 million for playing in the Championship. Absolutely love that. I know to some Championship teams that probably means absolutely nothing. For us, our bank balance has never exceeded £6 million, so to be given a lump sum of close to £5 million is actually really good. Charlie Hardy, our goalie, did win the Golden Glove in the Championship, and he was also named in the Team of the Year, which I absolutely love. Perhaps not a massive surprise, we don't have any other players in the Players' Team of the Year. At 22 years old, though, I think Hardy has the makings of a decent little goalie for us. I am somewhat concerned by his potential. Our staff think he's only got leading Championship potential, but I think there's no denying, based off this season, goalie is one of the positions we don't need to worry about signing players in. Now, ahead of the transfer window opening, I have been doing some work. We've been improving the coaching staff across the team. Alex Pope has joined as a new coach, and we are also working on expanding the scouting team. Park Chung-hyo, hopefully going to be joining us. 42 years old. He actually looks like a really good scout with knowledge of South Korea and Brazil. That is 2 areas of the world I'm not going to pretend we have knowledge of right now. If we look at the coaching assignments, I feel like the coaching team is looking pretty solid all of a sudden. And we have been continually working on, of course, bolstering our staff here at the club. I feel like we are now in a really good spot. As soon as we get a new scout, we're going to have 6 members to the team. They are going to be busy this summer. And in fact, full transparency, they're already quite busy this summer. I have been looking at players aged between 15 and actually 21 who I have at most known knowledge of. Have been looking at players also with contract status expiring in 6 months, £10,000, and I've essentially sent my staff to mass scout all the players with high reputation. So yeah, if I go to my scouting screen and we go to recruitment focuses and then scouting priorities, you can see here there is currently hundreds of players queued to be scouted. It's going to be a busy summer for my team. I do feel like at the level we are at now, there is absolutely no harm in doing searches like this where we look for players who have 6 months left on their contract, are young, we don't have knowledge of, so I'd like to put knowledge is at most. You could just put none if you wanted to. And basically then I will go to the top player at the list, usually sorted by world reputation, click him, hold shift on my keyboard, click a little further down, right click, and then you have to select less than 50 people. But if you do select less than 50, you can then scout them all. I think in the past few transfer specials, I've been guilty of only really starting the scouting and process once the transfer window opened, and that's a little bit too late. And in the month that we've had during this pre-season period, I've just been sorting out some scouting stuff. We are at that weird end of season part of the season. I really wish FM26 had, you know, the season review bit. Do you know the pop-ups that come? It was like a little presentation ceremony. I feel like it was always a really nice bookend on a season, and without it, I feel like seasons kind of blur into each other in this game. But maybe that's just me. I'd love to know, do you miss that feature, or is that just me? Also, can someone tell me, is there a place to see like seasonal best 11 and all-time best 11s? Because I get inbox items about the best 11, but it's not like a pitch view, and this is not nearly as nice to look across. Logically, you'd like think it's in club history or something, wouldn't you? But I can't find it. History records? Is it one of these all-time records players? No. I feel like that it must be somewhere because I get inbox items about it, but I can't find it. Right, anyway, I think number one priority right now is to get to the start of June and maybe look at what free transfers are available. I have been doing some early pre-season tactic brainstorming. We'll probably have to talk about that before we talk about recruitment, but I will say now, I don't think we're going to be quite as busy in the window this summer. Okay, folks, we are back. 1st of June in game. If you were wondering who got promoted from the Championship, it was Brentford on penalties over Sheffield United. I think that probably is good news for us. Brentford were one of the favourites to be promoted at the start of the year. They had an awful season, but they've managed to somehow squeeze through via the playoffs. And in terms of Premier League teams coming down, QPR, Middlesbrough, Sunderland. I feel like that's kind of favourable. When I look at the other teams in this list, on paper at least, and in my mind, they are the weakest three. Granted, we are 7 years in the future, or 8 years in the future, so quite a lot has changed. Now, normally this is the part of the transfer special where I go, I couldn't control myself, I've already made a load of signings. That has not happened yet. If I go to the transfer screen, nothing is happening. I've been very restrained. Before we do talk about our plans for the coming season, because we are going to pivot a little bit tactically, I do just want to discuss our transfer business and kind of strategy last season and going into this season, because it is going to shift. This season, we made a profit of £10 million from transfers. We spent 2.2 million, we cashed in at 12.5 million. When you look at the players that left, Evan Donnelly for 4.5 million, I think was probably a really good bit of business in retrospect. The fact we got £3 million for Alberto Rodriguez, I think still might be a scam, and we may now be wanted as a criminal in Mexico because of it. I say it, he's actually doing quite well in Liga MX. I love seeing Alberto Rodriguez doing well. And it feels like forever ago, but Riley Owen, of course, left in the summer, and at the time, his departure really marked a tactical shift needed because we lost our star defensive mid. In his first season with Lecce, he's got a 6.49 rating in Serie A. Admittedly, I'm not sure he's a Serie A quality player. Now, you might suspect, given the fact we made a profit of £10 million, that would kind of just be shown in this season's transfer budget, but of course that's not really the case. The budgets right now mean that we've got plenty of wage budget and just shy of £4 million to spend. But the big thing this year has been investing in the infrastructure. We've improved the training facilities twice, we've improved the youth facilities. I'm hoping we will be able to improve the youth recruitment sooner rather than later. Despite all that investment, we've elevated our facilities to the dizzying level of average, which doesn't feel that impressive, but we're trying to get there slowly but surely. And whilst I could maybe wait to get to the Premier League to invest a load of money in these areas, given the fact it can take years to slowly, gradually improve your facilities, I think the sooner you can get started on it, the better. Now, I am pleased to report that slowly but surely, our reputation is climbing up. If I scroll down here, we are now only behind MK Dons of League 2. Admittedly, there's a whole lot of League 1 teams above us, but there is no denying that a season in the Championship has seen our reputation rise. That is kind of reflected by the values across our team. If you look at transfer values, there are some players worth a real chunk of change all of a sudden, which is kind of exciting. Whether or not there's many here that I would want to cash in on, I think is somewhat up for debate. I think there's a couple of players where if the right offer came in, I might have to accept it. I look at Connor O'Loughlin thinking, well, I signed you in the summer for a free transfer. Yes, you played 36 games. You only started 23. If St Johnson can somehow materialise £4 million, it's somewhat difficult to say no. But we are in a position where, because most of our players now are contracted for at least the next 3 to 4 seasons, I don't think we have to sell anyone. There is no immediate need to get rid. Now, in terms of the season that we just had, great season. For so much of it, we were right up in the playoff spots, and we came up just short. I think part of it was we lost our best defensive midfielder. Part of it was how teams approached the games against us shifted, and they were a bit more conservative, which meant our whole game plan of hitting teams on the break wasn't as effective. And ultimately, in games, we just didn't control the midfield enough. If we look at team stats and average possession, you'll see here we are second bottom with 42% average possession. And whilst that could work in certain matches against the best teams, it didn't work, and I've kind of got to rethink things a little bit. So I have been thinking over the last month, basically, how am I going to approach next season, where I think the counter-attacking style of play that works so well probably isn't going to be so effective, but also we've got a young team with some really technical players who I actually think we should be encouraging to actually have possession of the ball. Now, of course, for the season just gone, we kind of played the 5 at the back with the 2 fullbacks, 2 defensive mids. We played with 2 inside outlet players who were kind of just the free players, hit on the counter, stay up the field, and then we just played with the single lone striker. This year, when we don't have the ball, I want to be more proactive. I want to have a few extra bodies in the midfield actively helping with the defending, which will hopefully lead to more possession. At the same time, when we do have the ball, I'm not entirely sure if I want to play with the wide centre-backs. I feel like Addons and Suljic are great defenders, but they're not that great with the ball at their feet. It wasn't really playing to our strengths. And there is one player in Joel Ambrosio who I am desperate to make the most of, and it's with me anticipating this guy coming into the first team that I think I've come up with the plan. So the 19-year-old Angolan we signed in the summer last year for £200,000. He was a very late buy that didn't get a work permit. I had to loan him out immediately to go and play in Turkey. He's actually just signed a new deal at the club that kicks in at the end of the current season that is a long-term one, which is very, very exciting because he has got Premier League potential. He's listed as having this 5-star potential, and when I look at our squad list and the players he is in the company of, players like Cardozo and Garcia, I can't help but be a little bit excited. Now, the obvious issue with Joel here is he didn't get much football playing in Turkey. In fact, he didn't get a lot of appearances until the end of the season, where suddenly he played 7 games. The reason for that is he wasn't that good at the start of the year. He has only got better, recently capped by Angola, but he can't play defensive mid. He's a really good centre attacking mid who can't really defend, but I need to get this guy in the first team. So this is where the tactical shift comes in. We are going to go from playing kind of our 5-2-3 that we played last season to going to a back 4, playing with 2 centre-backs, and then basically ditching the 3rd centre-back in favour of an extra body in midfield, which will be Ambrosio. Now, admittedly, I feel like when you look at this in-possession shape, it looks like a little bit of a mess. But to be honest, if I just move the fullbacks back, it's very clear what we're trying to do here. It's a 4-2-3-1. It's a system which I think is proven to be successful. With Cardozo now being able to play defensive mid, I feel like we're in a position where we can deploy him as a box-to-box midfielder, and he can be a great player in this part of the pitch. Now, with this new shape, to start things when we do have the ball, I am going to continue to use the advanced wing-backs. This is a role that I think works exceptionally well when you've got 3 centre-backs covering the space in behind. This shape might end up being a little bit too attacking, so as the season next year goes on, we might need to move them back. But I think this is a shape that can really lead to some good creativity. And with Ambrosio playing this free role in the midfield, I think it's just going to be really exciting. One of the biggest issues with last year's system was that obviously when we didn't have the ball, we defended with a block of 7, and our 2 kind of wide players were basically lazy defensively. They were outlet players, which when we played against teams who were happy to have their fullbacks get up the pitch meant they had loads of space to operate in. But the issue for both BJS, and for the sake of this example, we'll say Kosahasi, because he played this position a lot this year, neither of these players is particularly good in the air when it comes to their jumping reach nor their strength. So in terms of as counter-attacking options, when they had space to be in, when we looked for counter-attacks, it was great. But as teams started to defend more, kept their wing-backs further back and their full-backs defending, suddenly these 2 had to win duels when we looked to go direct. And whilst occasionally we'd get the ball into space in front and they could run onto it and that played to their strengths, when they did need to win the ball in a one-on-one duel, they just weren't winning it, and our counter-attacking system fell apart. So this year, I am looking to change things up. I want to play with a positive mentality, and I want to, when it comes to team instructions, play a shorter passing game with a high tempo, we are going to look to use width a little bit more, and also in terms of supporting runs, look for overlaps more proactively. And I really want to lean into the technical ability our team has. Now, the reason I'm going with shorter passing is purely because our players' actual passing ability really isn't very good across the board. I mean, our centre-backs have 7 passing apiece. I guess 12 is kind of somewhat below average for the Championship, but there is one area where our team shines, and it's both first touch of the midfielders and attackers, but also technique across the board. When you look at the technique of some of our players here, it's really solid on both Zongo and Cardozo at defensive mid, and then our 3 attacking midfielders. And I think one common misconception people make when they play Football Manager is to basically think that individual attributes work in isolation. So passing is a great example. Cardozo here has 12 passing, but the thing is, with 15 technique, he is still capable of picking out a good pass. I mean, if we just mouse over technique here, you can see it says about how technique is how refined they are with the ball at their feet, and technique is important in being able to pull off a tricky pass or cross-field ball. So just because a player's got low passing doesn't mean if they've got good technique, they just can't pass. They are still going to be able to use that technique to pull off balls. And it is because we've got this really good technical ability that I think this year we're going to look to try and play through presses more. We're going to play shorter passes mostly just to hopefully keep things simpler and, you know, mean that we're playing less extravagant passes. But I want us to have the ball at our feet. The first touch of our midfielders and attackers is pretty much above average for the Championship. It's lots of 14s, 16s and 15s, which is beyond solid for this level. And in fact, if we do just look at the mentals of our team, decision-making is one of our big strengths. Admittedly, our wider players don't have that decision-making, but the players who are going to have the ball under pressure in Zongo and Cardozo have got 17 and 15 decision-making respectively. Now, in terms of the composure, this is where if teams press us really hard, we might come under some scrutiny. But I really feel like it's just worth a risk this year of trying to be more assertive and want the ball. And whilst I'm a little bit concerned that having had one of the best defences in the league, going to a back 4 is going to leave us more open, I think what it is going to leave us the opportunity to do is when we do have the ball, be more aggressive with it. Have the ball in the final third. Have players like Ambrosio and Cardozo going for the odd extravagant pass. And you might have noticed there's a gap at striker because I do feel like with this change intact, Aguiar's physicals, whilst they will be very nice as a super sub option, maybe don't lean into this new style of play that I want to pursue. I don't need someone who's going to be a big force physically, although as a lone striker, you know, it is always nice to have. I want someone who can pass the ball, link up the play, and really work nicely with the inside forwards. And I feel like we needed a new striker anyway, but I kind of now have a good idea for the profile of player I want. I want someone who's confident on the ball. If they can be big and strong, that would be nice. I'm almost looking for, and this might be a weird Liverpool fan analogy, I'm looking for the Ekatike of the Championship. Someone who is big, can be assertive, but has a hell of a first touch and can really link up with these attacking midfielders who this year were a massive part of our output. I look at someone like BJS with 15 goals and 11 assists for the season just gone. I feel like in a more possession-orientated system, these numbers can get bigger. And the other thing worth mentioning is really, whilst this new system is more attacking, this kind of 4-2-3-1. The actual reality is, compared to what we played last year, the only difference is the centre attacking mid was a centre-back, and our 2 players that play at centre-mid are now going to start a little bit deeper when we don't have the ball. And with that in mind, there is no reason where, if we deploy this new system, and it's not really working, next season we can't just revert back if we need to. Hopefully that doesn't need to happen. But if there are games where we don't have that sufficient technical ability to kind of take the game to other teams, we can look to just play for ratty counter-attacks like we have for this kind of season just gone. I feel like there's a lot of flexibility between what we were playing last year and what I want to play this year. Anyway, that is a whole lot of tactical chatter, but I feel like it's really good to give you guys an idea for the players that I'm looking to sign, but also where my head's at. There is a natural concern that with us looking to play more kind of possession-orientated football, should we get promoted, this style of football that we're moving to might not work in the Premier League, which is why I don't want to deviate too far away from what we played last season. I want to have that as an ace up our sleeves in a system that we can relatively easily move back to should we get promoted, because I think that is going to be important. But in terms of the first team, I mentioned striking being kind of the main concern. I want to get in a new attacker, that is a certainty. I feel like a new backup right back would be rather nice, and maybe a bit more strength in the backup centre mid area. But in terms of the current first team, it's a 25-man squad. In terms of the potential across the first team, It's a team full of potential. This is not a team that I feel like we need to blow up. And in fact, when I look at the starting 11 here, outside of a new striker, I feel like the only time I'm going to recruit a player is if I absolutely need to, or maybe I'm forced into selling one of our current options. The player who immediately springs to mind, of course, is Amir Suljic. This man has been our star centre-back since League One. He's always had this release clause, which is about to expire, which is massive. The other issue is his contract's about to expire in the next year. Yeah, the 22-year-old's contract is up very soon. There is interest in him. There is a temptation to look to cash in on him. But to be honest, unless I'm getting a bid of over £3 million, I feel like it's almost not worth losing him. I feel like this is a man who can make a real difference in a push for promotion. And I'd almost rather have him for one season than get a little bit of money for him that I can't find a route in which to reinvest to find a player of sufficient quality. And without stating the obvious, we're not going to find anyone as good as Suljic to play centre-back with the money that I could possibly get for him in his final year. I would love to know, the segment I've just done, do you want more of that in videos, less of that in videos? Are you here for the funny transfer man who makes terrible puns? Or is tactical chat good? Yeah, I feel like this year is going to be an interesting transition. And I feel like it's just really important to explain the rationale behind why I'm changing the system, kind of, you know, the pros and cons for it, but also the longer term thinking about how I'm going to move to this system. But in the back of my mind, I know if we get promoted, 5 at the back might still be the way we end up landing. I know I spent 2 minutes earlier bigging him up. Can we just discuss how good Joel is? Like, I'm so excited to get this guy back from his loan. He improved so much this year. My staff think he's got mad potential. And I do feel like just with his great flair, vision, technique, he's got a bit of Adel Tarapt about him. It's a bit of a shame he's only got 10 dribbling. All the flair he does is in his passing, which is fine by me. Although he's got 12 passing. He's a very weird mould of player. And like I said, you know, you can't really look at these individual numbers in isolation. They all work together. This year, we're going to find out how important passing actually is, I suppose, with this man. Anyway, having done that tactical yap, I've just done a live stream, and now I'm going to sit down and hopefully make some signings to end my Saturday night. What a way to spend things. Now, first things first, there is a transfer target I am half tempted to go for immediately, and it is Julio Quinones. This guy is a Colombian free agent. He was on my radar for a little while. He was released at the start of the calendar year. He's been a free agent for 6 months. I kind of feel like teams are going to go in for him sooner rather than later. He is a striker who can play out on the left-hand side. Could be useful, potentially cutting in on his right foot. Whether or not he's the striker for our new system, I'm not sure. When you compare him head-to-head with Aguiar, there is no denying he is a more technically gifted player. 17 dribbling and 16 finishing is a really nice combo. He's not as proficient in the air, but to be honest, 10 strength, 9 jumping reach, it's not like absolute F grade, is it? It's serviceable. I suppose the other thing leaning me towards signing him is simply the fact he's a free agent. So there is very little downside in terms of monetary outlay to sign him. He is going to want to be a regular starter for us. I am wondering, how does he compare with Nicolas Silva? Of course, Nicolas Silva we signed last episode. I should acknowledge his face has updated. For some reason, the player faces glitch out, and when I restart the game, players get their actual faces. You might notice instead of having the exact same face as Maria Garcia, he actually has Aguiar's face, which makes it even more confusing. I mean, when you compare Silva and Quinones, I think there's an argument to suggest that Quinones is a slightly better player. Admittedly, he is a couple of years older. I think the big thing for me is the 16 finishing and 17 dribbling. I think those are significant factors, especially playing as an inside forward. Okay, the good news is he's willing to leave everything on the table. He wants a minimum release clause to teams in the Premier League of 19 million. It's actually not the most egregious of demands. Wants to be an important player. Can I lower it to regular starter? I can. Okay, that might help me with managing playing time expectations. I mean, £4,000 a week seems like an absolute bargain, if I'm being honest, for a player of his quality. This release clause, I'm actually thinking I might just keep in just to help me hopefully secure this signing more convincingly. I'm going to remove and exclude the sell-on, and I'll bump up the top promotion wage rise to 50%. That would mean if we got promoted to the Premier League, I have to pay him a whole £6,000, which I think is manageable. I am wondering, can I sneak in a contract extension after promotion? If I can, that would be really, really nice. And in fact, I have been able to. So hopefully, fingers crossed, touch wood, no one makes an offer for Julio now because I think he'd be a crazy pickup early doors. There was actually a few different free agent players I had been looking at, some of which do have some pretty good quality. He is by far and away the standout man though. There are actually some players here when I search for contract status expired that pop up that could be worth potentially looking at. Amoregi here is a centre mid. I am looking for a new kind of centre mid option. I don't think he's quite at the level I want. Mateus here has a really high world reputation. I thought because he used to play for Inter Milan, he must be good. I am shocked at how bad this guy is, considering he's got 27 caps for Poland. I mean, Leon Bailey's available. I'm not sure I need a 34-year-old Leon Bailey. Mason Melia is the kind of player who probably would have been a really useful striker in League One, but for the level we're at, he is no better than Aguiar. I think it's safe to say that Julio is the best player with a contract already expired. If we look at it expiring in 1 month, there are a few players here maybe worth looking at. Lungu was a player who I had on my radar at one point a few years ago, but he's not really developed. I think he was in a next-gen list. One thing I do feel like we need to be a little bit wary of, and I don't want to go full Brexit mode here, but I can't afford to have too many players from South America and Africa in the team, purely because if any of them are actually any good and then AFCON comes around, I could end up losing like half the first team. 8 members of my 25-man squad are from African countries, which is a concern if AFCON comes around and they're affected. South America's not quite so bad. I think there's only 4 or 5 players. It's the Olympic qualifiers for under-23s, which can be a problem for them. Okay, in terms of players with contract status expiring, there's nothing that jumps out at me. I think one thing that could be very good to look at now is something that we did a lot of last year, but it's just transfer, work permit chance, and then likely. This was actually quite an efficient way of filtering out some players and finding some really good young talent. If I search work permit likely 15 to 18, there's 134 players here. I might just scout them all. Is it the most efficient use of my scouting budget? Probably not, but there's got to be some absolute ballers in here. And if there isn't, I've just wasted a lot of money. I mean, this guy towards the top looks very good. Saoud Al-Mari, he is a Qatari international at 18. He's about to turn 19. He's got really, really good pace. Could be a good player in the wider areas. Great off the ball, not the best in terms of passing and vision. And he's not really the lone striker I need, is he? Happy to be a backup, but I think that valuation, it'd be half my transfer budget for a player who doesn't really come in and immediately improve the first team. Apparently he's got Premier League potential. He's the kind of man who, you know, in a few seasons when we're in the Premier League and I can take loads of punts on youngsters and £2 million is chump change, I might be tempted to go for, but here and now it just doesn't make sense. I'm looking through the players here. I'm going to be honest, I'm very underwhelmed. I feel like this list of players is maybe lots of players who could have the potential to play for us, but expecting to find an 18-year-old who can jump straight into the first team, it might be a tad ambitious. We're at the point now where I've gone down to kind of the cheaper players and the lower rep players. I've got players sorted by value here. And I'm actually looking at the clubs thinking, which clubs do I know sometimes produce good players? All I'm saying is if you've played enough Football Manager, you've signed someone from Cotton Sport, haven't you? Having looked through a lot of this list now, I think it's safe to say that there's no immediately obvious players. Why does every single transfer special begin with me going, I need starters, and then suddenly I'm looking at 18-year-olds? Right, let's up the age here. Let's go 19 to 23. I'm kind of tempted to try international caps rather than youth caps just to begin with and see what's out there. Reza Mohseni plays for Zobahan. If you watch the Journey Manager save game on FM24, you'll be familiar with Zobahan. This guy is kind of interesting because he fits the mould of the kind of striker I was maybe looking for my team. There is one glaring issue with him. It's his first touch. He's 21 though. He is about to turn 22. His physicals are not crazy, but they're pretty solid. It is this sea of really good kind of mentals I'm looking at. The good flair, the great determination, good decision-making, composure, anticipation, vision, teamwork. Like, he could be a really, really good creative striker. In terms of spearheading an attack, I mean, I don't know, 11 jumping reach and 11 strength isn't absolutely useless. I just wish his first touch was a little bit better. He'd want £9,000 to £12,000 a week. It's just a bit too much. I've just added him to the scouting list, so we are going to prioritise the assignment. He was 489th in the queue. It's like when you're queuing for McDonald's and you get the ridiculous numbers. Some of these players are going to be waiting a while for their Big Mac. Sometimes I wonder, am I scouting too many players? And then I just think, well, there's no such thing as that, is there? I'm going to get rid of the international appearances filter just to give us more options and see if there's anyone else here towards the top. I am beginning to think that Well, for the level of player that I need, I'm probably looking for a needle in a haystack looking at these kind of players. Mark Horvat plays for Bayern's second team. I got really excited. Slovenian goalie, he's not actually very good. I just feel like the fact that I'm seeing Bayern 2 players show up in the list means we must be improving a little bit. There's Anderlecht youngsters as well. Look, we're getting some pulling power. It's very, very slow progress, but it is happening. I'm back now to just looking at players with contracts expiring in the next month, but to be honest, I feel like I almost want to wait for a few more scout reports to come in. Maybe see what's happening with Julio Quinones as well, because if we sign him, that could be a really good initial piece to the puzzle. And whilst I don't need to sell anyone, because we have got a squad of 25 players, if we do make any new additions, I'd probably want to move some players on. There are a few players here with high valuations, like Sassy, like Harvey Vale. I feel like another player who maybe falls into that bracket is Jean Felipe, who of course missed the whole season this year with an ACL. Given his value of a couple £1 million, he hasn't kicked a ball in a year. He's the kind of player who it might be a good idea to sell if we can. Portsmouth and Southampton have just offered me job interviews, which is kind of amusing. Apparently I'm wanted on the South Coast. Of course, I've already been offered one of these job interviews before. I'm going to decline both of these. In case it's not obvious at this point, I feel like I've grown far too attached to our current Lewis FC squad. If an appealing job offer had come in sooner, I maybe would have been a bit more keen. Quinones' move delayed for a work permit. I'll tell you what, if that is the one free transfer I get done this window, I think that's a really, really good pickup. It does maybe leave me with an overabundance of players who can play out on the left-hand side, but you know what? I think there's worse problems you could have. He could very easily end up being our striker if we don't find anyone. He is actually very, very similar to Harvey Vale in terms of what he offers. Harvey Vale is a striker on the bench who can play on the left wing. If I compare him with Quinones is maybe a little less complete, although I feel like he's got that advantage when it comes to pace, and the dribbling and finishing advantage I think is kind of big, especially for the role we're looking for a player to do. It would also open up the opportunity to offer out Harvey. He did only sign in January, so I suspect probably going to have to wait for the season tick over to start getting some bids, because teams are going to think he's joined too recently. Okay, this is what my inbox is going to look like for a while, I think. We've got a lot of scout reports coming in for a lot of players. Are any of them actually any good? I'm actually going to have to go through all of these and pay a little bit of attention. There's going to be a lot of crap in here, I think. Dozo is now able to speak good English. I'll tell you what, that makes me happy, because, yeah, this is a man I want to build the team around. I could part company with Richard Spencer. I'm pretty sure his contract's about to expire, isn't it? Is it about to expire? Yes, it is, in 25 days. I can tell you now, not going to be renewing Richard's contract. I signed him as a free transfer punt a few years ago. He has not developed. Josh Landers, contract expiring at the end of the year. I don't think it's worth renewing it. He got 6 goals in the championship for us this year. Wants a significant wage rise that I'm not willing to give him. In reality, you know, across the last couple of seasons, his production just hasn't really been good enough. When we signed him, I was so excited. He was a reason we got out the league kind of division as quickly as we did, but for where we are now, yeah, he's just not it, is he? Interest in Harvey Vale, annoyingly, it's a loan. I mean, does anyone want to sign him permanently? I'm going to make him unavailable for loan, and then should we ask his agent if there's any interest? There is interest, but not right now. Maybe when the window opens. 10 days. 10 days. You know what? Let's start and continue a bit more. He says, right as he really gets interrupted, because Quinones is set to sign for us. Yeah, this is a good deal, isn't it? There's no reason not to do this deal. What's the catch? Is there a catch? Recommendation is an A. He's 21. Little bit of potential. Great current ability. I like him. I'm signing him. And elsewhere, Park, the new scout, got a work permit. So now we have knowledge of Brazil and South Korea, which, I mean, that can't be a bad thing. Quinones is here. What is the potential according to my staff? Premier League potential, leading championship player. I feel like that's what we already knew. If there is a concern, injury proneness could be a thing. Let's hope that isn't a thing, because with his physicals, injuries would be annoying. Coventry have outlined intentions for Jonah O'Connor. Jonah O'Connor is not a man I intend on selling. I think he's a good backup centre mid option, particularly as a backup to Cardozo because of his passing and vision. But he can also play right back, which is something we could end up using him for. Every week there's this sea of scout reports. I'm excited to go through them, actually. Okay, can confirm none of the players scouted there, any used to be in the first team. Crystal Palace have offered money for Spencer. Because of his age, I think they'd have to pay compensation anyway, but I've just discussed the fact I was going to release him. They've offered me up to £700,000. It's very clause dependent. I think I'm just going to take it, though. Look, I was going to release him anyway, so I'll take the money that I'm given. Have got a little work permit update here. Lowry Home is the only player currently on an ESC contract. One thing we found in the Championship is a lot of the Championship-level players just get granted work permits without the need for the ESC stuff, which is kind of useful. But we do have the ability to sign free players on ESC permits if we want to. For the first teams, yeah, whilst I was looking earlier at players who are likely to get a work permit, that isn't like something we need to do necessarily. Have offered out a few higher value first team players like Sassy, like Vale, like Felipe as well, just to see if there is any interest out there, because I'm not sure I'm going to be keeping them around. I'm also thinking I might try and sell Amet. He's useful, I suppose, as the emergency left back and right back backup. He has this year been our backup right back behind Maria Garcia. He is really not good enough to do that for us. Especially during that second half of the season, I did find myself playing at Maria Garcia, probably more than I should have done. And when I did need a backup, O'Connor was that man. O'Connor, I think, is better served as a backup defensive midfielder, purely because I think for a backup wing-back, these physicals are just not good enough. He's just not quick enough in those wider areas. In the centre where he doesn't need to run and cover as much ground, I feel like he shines with his ability kind of when it comes to his passing decisions, and also just his teamwork. There is interest in him from Oxford. You know what? Let's just offer him out unspecified and see what interest we get. I'd be surprised if we get a bid of more than a few £100,000 for him. Owen Barrett, formerly our starting goalie, is also asking to leave the club. There's some interest from various teams on loan. We signed him for £500,000. I'd love to try and get that money back for him. I think it's safe to say in Charlie Hardy we have a number one for the foreseeable future, and Rodrigo Nana, the 19-year-old, I actually think could longer term be the first choice goalie for us. And compared to Owen Barrett, I think there's an argument to suggest that he's maybe already slightly better. The other nice thing about Nana is he is actually on course to get homegrown at club. So in making him our number 2 goalie, maybe gives me some opportunities to play him in the team, keep him happy, keep him developing. And yeah, long term, I'm thinking now, you know, European squad registration, never a bad thing to have a homegrown at club goalie, is it? It is wild as you hit kind of continue with the kind of players with a month left. More and more players start kind of getting desperate. Reece Nelson, currently playing for Ipswich Town in this universe, apparently now might be interested in joining me. For £50,000 a week, I think I'm going to pass. A new championship season draws near. Oh, I hope that we get predicted to do well this coming season. It was a bit miserable last season when the predictions came through and we were predicted to do not so well. Kay Furrow here, had scouted. His contract's expiring at the end of the month. Oh, he's already agreed to move with Manchester United. The fact he's on £3,000 makes me wonder if I'd spotted him sooner. Could I have realistically signed this guy? I'm going to assume he probably would have chosen Manchester United over us. No offers for 4 players, but an offer made for Lewis's Barrett. I signed this guy for £500,000. None of these transfer offers are even close to that. I am going to reject them all. That might seem a bit harsh. I'd rather keep him around as a third choice at that amount. And annoyingly, for the various other players I offered out, no one has made bids. I feel like Harvey Vale is the one I'm perhaps most keen to get rid of, purely because of his value. It did mention in the inbox item, though, you know, because he's joined recently, that has limited the interest in him. Owen Barrett's annoyed I didn't accept the offer from Shamrock for him. Of course, we signed him from Cork. 550k. I gave him 1 game this year and he was awful. It was in a live commentary. You can all remember it. You were all mocking me for it in the comments. I saw you. I'm going to say they weren't offering enough, and the fact I'm willing to sell him for £800,000. If a team bids that much, he can go. Okay, Spencer set to join Crystal Palace. A few £100,000 for a player who I was prepared to release really doesn't seem that bad. I feel bad for my scouts. They've gone to every corner of the world on my command, although at the moment I think they go through UK-based players. They give me a big kind of stack of papers and go, here's all the players that we've scouted. And I'm just saying no to all of them at the moment. I really want to get to the season tick-over date, purely because looking at the league table and seeing us in 10th is making me depressed in the bottom right corner. Lewis enjoy a small reputation boost. Come on! And our training facilities have been upgraded and are now considered good. 1 week left. 1 week left on the Suljic course. Even if he leaves on a free at the end of the season, at least I don't have to worry about losing him this year. Eurosport's Championship reviewers come in. We are the biggest overachievers. I love that. Apparently our 2-0 win against Stockport was a highlight. Why 2-0 against Stockport? Championship signing of the year went to Jamie Gittins at Brentford. To be fair, they signed him for £1.5 million, which is an absolute bargain because he was actually really good for them. Yeah, I mean, he's a very good player in Football Manager, isn't he? It is nice, however, to see BJS on the list. Weird how he has such a low rating, kind of average-wise, but then his actual output is good. He's the kind of man who has a really good game or a really crap game, and there is no in-between. Okay, I can set the season expectations for the year, although we're very much locked into a mid-table finish. FA Cup, EFL Cup, I'm not going to touch here. I'm being asked if I want to improve the youth recruitment network. This might be the first time ever the board have actually made a good suggestion, although Jordan's looking very feminine today. I mean, Jordan can be a female name, I suppose. Jordan Goddard, I love that idea, nice one. I'm pretty sure last time I saw Jordan, he was a bloke. Have got some offers for Amit. I was hoping to get a little bit more money than this for him, if I'm being honest. But we did sign him on a free transfer, and I'm not overly convinced that he's very good. So I am going to sell him. We are going to need to sign a new backup right back. I was thinking we were going to do that anyway. We'll accept this offer. It's a little bit more money up front. Our youth recruitment is now considered established. Well, that's something. Okay, the championship season has reset. So if you go to stages and season preview, we're in 19th. For some reason, I was hoping we'd be a little bit higher. I do think it's good to look at this season preview here, but until we get to the start of July, this is going to include various potential loan players and also players who are currently running down their contracts. Sunderland have been relegated. They've got Aidan Heaven and Cups at centre-back, who are both apparently very, very good. I can't say I've heard of Christopher Cups, but he's got the mentals of Gandhi. Look at how good he is. Where does this man start? I've never heard of him. Chicago Fire. Since when have Chicago Fire had footballers this good? Someone's actually going to now name those a good Chicago Fire footballers. This guy's insane. Lewis to receive £3 million. We love that. Give me money. I love money. Right, full transparency. I'm currently recording at 2:30 a.m. in the morning. The missus is going to wonder why I've not gone to bed. So I'm going to go to bed now with the season tick over date. We'll get to the start of July, I think, to wrap up today's episode. I would like to at least get the ball rolling on a few signings, and especially a new backup right back. Well, good morning, beautiful people. I'm up bright and early. First game of the season we have to look forward to this year. Wigan away. With respect to Wigan, that is not the most sexy of fixtures, is it? I'm looking at our start to the year. Wigan, Derby, Norwich City, all teams who, if I'm not mistaken, finished in the bottom half. I feel like we should be okay there. I think Norwich are maybe the one team to maybe fear. They had a massive underperformance, but yeah, I don't know. I back us against them. Joel Ambrosio has just signed that new deal. I mentioned this earlier, the fact that he had this new pending deal. It is a 3-year contract, but with an optional 3-year extension. And obviously with that deal, I now feel confident trying to build the team around this youngster, and of course a couple of the other players who recently signed new long-term deals. Right, if your PC is leaving, I need a backup right back. Let's see what is out there. Surely I've got to have a right back scouted here who is serviceable. Ronan Capaccio, that's a fun name, isn't it? He's a fun little player. He's a Welsh international. It's mad. When you look at his ability, you think, oh, he'd be a good backup. Then you see he's on £21,000 a week and you start to see an issue. We are still very much in a situation where the kind of backups who are already established at the level we play at are simply on way too much money. David Mulryan here could be an option. Plays for Cork. He is a right back. I do like the look of this guy quite a lot. He started at Salt Hill in Ireland, he moved to Welling on a free, and then moved straight back to the Irish Premier League, where he's been there for a little while. I think he could be an option. When you compare him to Amet, who he'd be coming in to kind of replace as a backup, there is no real comparison, is there? And compared to O'Connor, who is perhaps the current option at right back, the physical difference is just really notable. The pace, the technical ability. To be fair, all round, David is just better. He's probably going to cost me around £500,000. He wants to start the majority of matches. Okay. The wage demands aren't too bad either. Right, his agent has agreed to leave stuff kind of open to negotiations once we get talking. Does he have a release clause? I assume he probably doesn't. Offered 130k, they think they can get more for him. I think he's going to cost in the region of 400 to 550k. So we'll make a bit of 400 and see what they say. Definitely do like the look of him though. He looks like a player who could offer some real value for money. And as I flick through the other kind of right back options that are maybe out there, he is comfortably the best. I am wondering if I should look through all the different Irish teams just to see if there's more players that should be on my radar. Maybe a better way of filtering out players here is probably just to look at the national team, isn't it? I feel like in general, the UK and Irish kind of leagues outside of England can be a quite good way of acquiring some championship level depth for a reasonable price, which also comes with that added bonus of you don't have to worry about them going away on international duty at different times to when the majority of your squad go on international duty. I kind of mentioned earlier the whole, issue of having a lot of South American players, a lot of African players, and the international tournaments they partake in. Obviously, that's less of an issue with players like this, and less of an issue with players like Peter Griffin. There's a striker called Peter Griffin. Do you know how hard it is for me to resist signing a man called Peter Griffin? This is going to be a test. I mean, I'm not being funny. He's only just turned 20. He actually looks quite good. I can't. I could do it. I shouldn't do it. Just make me stop. Let's have a look through the rest of the national team. He is actually quite good, Peter Griffin. Toby Knowles plays for the Bohemian team. He is 18. He looks like a really, really good little centre-back. Definitely a player we should be getting a scout report on. Peter and Toby definitely were the two standout players there, so I'm going to prioritise both of these assignments. I feel like I need the scout reports on these guys soon. I mean, Toby looks really, really good. I'm almost tempted to get the ball rolling on him as a transfer now. The fact he's 18 means eventually he could get homegrown at club too. The question is, how much is he going to cost me? The issue also is midway through the Irish season. So, teams are less inclined to want to sell regular starters for them at this point in the year. Oh, he's probably going to cost me like £500,000, £600,000. Which on the one hand, that is a lot of money for us. But on the other hand, it's only a fifth of my transfer budget. And being realistic, I'm probably not going to be signing more than, I don't know, I don't think we're going to be signing more than maybe 7 players. So when you think about it like that, we can afford to spend big on 1 or 2 players. I think David Mulrine is definitely a higher priority transfer, but Toby would be a really useful one to pick up. Okay, our offer for Toby was accepted. He's now asking to be an important player. That is not what I was told previously. If I suggest squad player, he says important player. If I go to regular starter, he walks away. You know what? There's no way I ever could have offered him assurances to be a regular starter for us, is there? Like, he's good. He's not that good. If he learns his place in the world, maybe I'll go back in for him at some point, but not with that kind of playing time expectation. Cork have delayed our decision for David, right? I am going to up this bid slightly to £500,000 and hope they'll actually give me a definitive answer, which they have done. Apparently the transfer has become public knowledge. Of course someone leaked it. He wants to be a regular starter. I'm probably going to end up trying to lower that playing time expectation. He now wants to be an important player after the first season. I mean, he will be juggling minutes with Maria Garcia, but I think given the price we're paying for him and the wage demands, it's just absolutely worth signing him and dealing with the fallout of a lack of first-team football later. It's a 3-year deal I'm going to offer him. I've upped the wages to £3,000 with a top promotion kind of wage rise of 50% if we get into the Premier League. But I do want a contract extension after promotion of 3 years locked in. Okay, the good news is he's accepted that. I feel like that could be the backup right-back position sorted. I guess next on my shopping list is some backup at defensive mid. I need someone who is competent defending. I feel like at centre mid, Cardozo is a great little playmaking midfielder, and we have a backup to him. But as we experienced this year, Zongo, who really is that defensive resilience in kind of the duo of defensive midfielders, doesn't really have someone comparable to him. Alvarez, I suppose, is that man. But I do feel like when you compare the two players, there is a little bit of a gap in ability. Admittedly, Alvarez's kind of pace and acceleration do make a really nice difference maker. But I do feel like, especially in this system where Zongo is going to be a defensive midfielder in possession and out possession, he's still holding the fort. He perhaps doesn't need the mobility, and instead defensive ability is key. There is Niels van Dierman here, who plays for Wilmen, who's apparently available. I mean, he is a defensive midfielder of sorts. My scouts rate him. I'm not sure I do for 1.3 to 2.6 million. I am thoroughly underwhelmed by the players that my scouts have already got scouted, although there is an 18-year-old here playing in Spain. I mean, he is a good player. I wouldn't necessarily say he's a good defensive midfielder. Jimenez apparently has Premier League potential. He's a super consistent performer, has a release clause of £500,000. I mean, he is quite a good player. He only turned 18 a couple of months ago too, so he would get homegrown at club. He wants the occasional opportunity to play in the first team. I was really hoping he'd want to be a hot prospect. Then it would be tempting. I'm going to make an offer. If he asks to be a backup, I'll sign him. If not, there'll be a bit more hesitation. Niksic here is 23, so a slightly older player, but a Croatian defensive mid who does actually look pretty good, although I'm not sure he's that much of an upgrade on Alvarez. In some ways, I feel like I really underestimate how good Alvarez is. Like, he is a very good player for someone we signed back when we were in the National League. Okay, our offer for Jimenez has been accepted. They want to loan him back for the year. I can't do that because I need him to get homegrown at club. He wants to be a squad player. I'm going to suggest impact sub, which is a little bit of a white lie. In terms of wage demands, there's nothing too outrageous here. Only a 2-year deal I can offer him initially, but I think we can actually finesse that a little if we offer an optional contract extension of a further 2 years. We'll lock that in. I have upped the top division promotional wage rise to 50%. We're going to suggest that. He asks for a few £100 more a week. You know what? That's fine with me. When I look at the first team, it's not like we're needing wholesale changes. I'm still undecided if Quinones is actually the striker we were eyeing up and needing. But besides that, I feel like we're getting the business done that we needed to get done. Okay, Ahmet is leaving the club. We signed him on a free transfer. I was going to say he came, he saw, he conquered. He came, he turned up, he participated. Merely this year just gone. A bit of a season to forget for him. Happy to get some money, in all honesty. Suljic wants to discuss personal matters. He needs to talk about a move because he wants to be playing with better players. Oh, Suljic, don't do it. It might be time for you to move on. I don't want to sell you. I want to keep you. I mean, I don't intend on selling him, and he's got 1 year left on his contract. What's the best option to tick here? I mean, I can try and convince him and promise about the young players we've got in the team. I'm going to go with that. I think he's just going to tell me that, the young players aren't going to improve enough for the level that he wants to get to. Yeah, he's not got long left on his contract. He has no intention of signing a new one. It's in my best interest to sell him. Look, we'll part ways when your deal expires. I love Suljic. I think deep down inside we've known he was probably going to leave at the end of his contract. Barring anyone activating his release clause, I'm afraid to say we've only got him for 12 more months. Crystal Palace have made an offer for Denner of £2 million. I mean, I don't really need to be in the business of selling my best players. I feel like Denner is one of our standout players at left back. So rather politely, I kind of want to decline this, although it is open for negotiation. I'm going to be bold here. I'm just going to say £6 million and he's yours. They've actually not told me immediately to do one there, which is concerning. I want £5 million and 50% of any profit. Okay, they're still negotiating. Oh, they've made a bid of 4.6 million. 4.6 million and a 50% profit sell-on. Oh, I feel like I have to preliminarily click accept on that one, and that is mental. I don't know if I even really want to sell him. I think whether or not I actually end up selling him is largely going to boil down to, can I get in a new starter? I feel like Sassy as a backup left back is pretty fine for us. Like, he is a well-rounded player who's good going forward. Maybe lacks a little bit defensively. I mean, Denner leaving for 4.6 million, was it? That is painful. But he is a bit of a liability with the red cards. It's just a lot of money for a club of our side right now. For a player who was good last year, but I'm not going to pretend he was some irreplaceable force in the team. I'll level with you, I've not even had left back on my radar as a position to consider. Like I said, I think whether or not we sell him is going to basically boil down to, can I find someone who can replace him? He is one of our more experienced players, though, at 25. That's a mental sentence to say, but he genuinely is. So getting someone in who has a little bit of experience probably would be in my interest. Oh, I'll tell you what, I've really been caught off guard by this one. There was no indicator that we were going to have interest in him, and all of a sudden this offer leaves me scrambling a little bit. I mean, Avantandil Latsabidze, who we looked at last year, the Georgian defensive mid, who I did discuss the possibility of training to play wing-back, is still kind of on my radar as a player, but at £2.3 million, he's just a bit spenny for what he offers. He would be a bit of a square peg in a round hole to slot in at left back. But I'm looking through the other left back options here, and I am really not convinced by the options I'm seeing. Elijah Morrison might be the best of the players I've looked at. Surplus to requirements at Huddersfield Town in League One. He's played well in League One the last couple of years. 6 player of the matches in 19 games. Prior to that, hasn't exactly shone when he was given the odd chance in the Championship. But the fact that this guy might be one of the best options at left-back maybe is a reason not to sell Denner. Like the last couple of years, I knew this was going to be a 2-parter transfer special. This is going to be the dilemma I think I leave things with today. Do I sell Denner? Don't I sell Denner? What would you do? Let's get to the 1st of July, see if some of those younger players get signed up. And to wrap things up today, I do want to look at our affiliates Arsenal and just see if they've got any good players I could loan in that they'll actually loaned me this year. Because last year when I tried to loan their players, they told me that I didn't have enough quality and I wasn't worthy of their talent. Looks like Jimenez could be joining us, waiting on a work permit for him. I'm kind of working on the assumption he will get the work permit. Even if he doesn't, we can use an ESC slot on the 18-year-old. Also got a load of scout reports to flick through for players who aren't that good, except William Jeffries, good championship player, could improve a lot. 21, plays for Brisbane Roar. He's actually really quite good, isn't he? Wowzer. I mean, he's capped for the Australian national team a number of times. He's put in some really good performances in A-League. I like the look of him a hell of a lot. Great passing, great technique, great flair. Can play defensive midfielder as well, so could be a backup to Cardozo, but also can play at centre attack in mid, so could be the backup in that free role position as well. I think I might sign him. Wait, his contract is expiring tomorrow. Does that mean I can just approach to sign him? Oh, he wants us to get promoted before joining. Surely if he gets released tomorrow, then I can maybe talk to him. William Jeffries, remember the name. I do find that when players get released, their kind of playing expectations and clubs they're willing to move to just change quite radically. So if we get to the first, maybe he'll talk to me. QPR have made an offer for Maul Ryan. Oh, don't ruin it, QPR. Why are you doing that? Admittedly, they've bid £350,000, so surely Cork are going to be sensible and turn down that lesser offer. Okay, Suljic release clause has not been triggered. That is good. That is great news. Huddersfield have made an offer to loan Joel Ambrosio. Absolutely not. He is no longer available for loan. Go away, everyone. Stoke and West Brom have also made offers for Maul Ryan. What was the wage offer that I made him? I might need to offer it a little bit more. No one has matched our £500,000 offer. Right, you know what? I can't give him £4,000. That is quite high for a backup in our team. I'm also going to lower the relegation release clause. This only kicks in if we're relegated from the championship. If we were to get promoted and then get relegated, it doesn't get activated. £4,000 is as much as I'm willing to pay for a backup. If he turns down that, it was just never meant to be. Aberdeen have made a Jeffries offer. Jeffrey has been a free agent for, a day? And instantly they're moving in. I can talk to him now, though. Oh, how much money do I throw at him? I do think he's really, really good. He wants £14,000. Oh, William, you've ruined it. The mad thing is, he might actually be worth it. He might be worth it. I'm kind of tempted just to offer what he's asked for and just see if it goes anywhere. Although he wants a match higher Sterner clause. That has bitten me in the arse when signing in Australia before. Let's get rid of the sell-on fee percentage as well. I'll give your agent a bit more money up front, and if we're promoted, 3-year extension. That is a very reasonable offer here, which he's thrown back in my face. Okay, £15,000. I won't include the extension after promotion. He's accepted that. I don't even know if I'd sign William at £15,000, but maybe I would, because he does look really, really good. He is the kind of player who could be a difference maker in a promotion push. I'm, of course, working on the assumption he thinks that Lewis FC is more attractive than Aberdeen, which might be up for debate. Right, I said I was going to end things on the 1st of July, but I feel like everything's just exploded into life. That said, I do want to have a quick look at Arsenal's team, just see if there's any of their players I could actually loan. Johan Herrera is a left-back, right? Plays for Arsenal. He's loan listed. He'd be perfect. He would be the Denner replacement. Can I actually loan him? I can, but they want me to contribute 90% of his wages. Arsenal, are you aware that we're like affiliates? Like, we're meant to be friends. This is not a friendly deal. It was far too good to be true, wasn't it? I knew deep down inside that one wasn't going to work. Let's have a look at the youth team. My first instinct was to look through their left-back options. The left-back options and wing-back options they have are not very good. Fabian Nino is the standout player in their youth team setup. I'm going to be real with you. I don't think he's going to join me anyway, but besides him, I don't think there's anyone who's actually going to be useful for a promotion push in the championship. They want me to pay him £42,000 a week. That is not going to work. I had such high hopes of this Arsenal affiliation. I'm going to be honest, it's just not really materialised into anything, has it? I mean, they've got a few other players in the first team loan listed, like Al-Khani, who's on £200,000 a week. There's no way I can loan this bloke, is there? There's just no way. There's a chance they want me to pay £85,000. We're meant to be friends. The other thing is, whilst Arsenal are happy for me to talk to these players, whether or not these players actually would then agree to come to us, I think is almost guaranteed to be a no. Cork accepts bids for Mulryan. I don't like it. I've already offered him my best contract offer. If I don't get him as a right back, that is an issue. Alvarez wants a new contract to the club. How much are you thinking you're worth, son? £8,000 to £9,000. You joker. That ain't happening, is it? Jimenez's work permit's been rejected. We'll appeal it. I feel like everything's going wrong at once. And I've totally forgot I've still not looked at left backs and Denner's just leaving us. And it's the 1st of July. I know this video's almost an hour long already. Is this now an appropriate time to leave things? It's probably not. It's like those annoying TV series where they always end on a hook. But you're going to have to come back tomorrow to find out how I'm going to address everything going on. There is so many loose threads. Let me know how you'd approach all the dilemmas I've got going on. I feel thoroughly overwhelmed. You can let me know what you think of the tactics chat, and also Quinn Onez. Is he just good enough to be our lead man striking at the front? I think he could be. I feel like with his pace and dribbling ability and ability to finish, he could be good if he stays fit. Anyway, we will be back tomorrow to pick up where we've left off things today. Really, really appreciate the love and support in the series. Hopefully you've enjoyed today's video. Go down below, leave a like. Would you sell Denner? Am I losing my mind? Thoughts on the tactical changes? I'm going to go have a lay down. I'll see you tomorrow.